7 after 8 o'clock. Welcome to the program. Our first interviewee of the morning, and that is you, of course, Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast. You are a political analyst. We've spoken with you in the past, and always a pleasure to have you on the show. A very good morning and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm a colleague.
Okay, let's start with the story of the day. And that, of course, is the South African Reserve Bank has found that no exchange control laws were violated in the reported transaction between President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala farm and a Sudanese businessman for the sale of 20 buffalo. The Reserve Bank has published the limited findings of its investigation into the matter. And of course, it seems as if the matter was seemingly set aside on a technicality. This is a joke, right, Dr. Breakfast? Or am I reading it absolutely incorrectly? Your thoughts on the matter?
Yeah. No, I think it's very important from my standpoint not to be simplistic and straightforward for this matter because everything has a context and context is everything.
Right.
My position regarding this matter is first of all to appreciate complexity and the nuances coupled with this in the sense that the way the story broke, the way the story was broken by the media, and the way the matter was reported by Arthur Fraser to the law enforcement agencies, I don't think that it was done in good faith. That is not to exempt the president from any wrongdoing. He might have been at fault, and I say this because this is an ongoing matter. In the sense that I don't think this matter has been ventilated enough or at all in the court of law. Even though I think the president has won a number of political battles, including the one of late by the Reserve Bank, because those are, I would say, arguably, government institutions. But the point that I'm making is that the background to this is extremely important to understand the context. Because I think that the story broke in order to hold Ramaphosa back from becoming the president of the ANC. Again, I want to stress this point because I don't want to come across as if now I'm embroiled into the dynamics of the ANC. I'm not a member of any political party. But I think the people who ran with the story or the person who reported this, I don't think that the rationale behind was to report an ordinary criminal activity. But having said that, I also think that maybe there have been some political dynamics in some of the institutions that have been tasked to lay bare what had happened. Like, for instance, the story that broke, yesterday that the president has been exempted from this and that by the Reserve Bank, because it backs a number of questions. I mean, with regard to the issue of currency. I mean, there was money, for instance, which was found under the mattress, and the public protector exempted the president from any wrong doing, even though there was someone or there were people who were abducted, kidnapped. So yeah, I mean, it does cast some aspersions on certain institutions that they are meant to serve personal interest, but at the same time that background which I spoke about also I think we need to take into account as well.
Point taken, absolutely. Undoubtedly, there was a lot of politicking here from opposition parties. And as you've indicated, it was an attempt possibly to prevent Cyril Ramaphosa to be elected as the ANC's president. But that being said, and of course, you are absolutely correct. Context is everything. So we need to, be mindful of that. However, I guess given the size of the transaction in question, 580,000 US dollars, and the questionable way in which the money was allegedly and infamously stored, and the murky conditions under which it was stolen from the farm, obviously, there's a whole lot of questions that needs to be answered there. It also begs the question regarding the country's exchange control laws. They were very definitely violated. And had this not been an elite of the ANC, the country's president and the ANC's president, had it been, a high flying business person or an ordinary Charlie like you and I, by some stroke of luck, that we had come into this type of money and the money was found stored the way it was in our homes or at a secret location, what would have happened is we would have probably been imprisoned till the matter was heard and
Yeah.
a verdict was passed. Very definitely, SARS would have been after our blood.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm,
So,
mm,
it suggests that there are two rules for the
mm.
ANC elite or any elite in the country, and two rules for ordinary working class people like you and I.
No, I fully concur with you. I think you are on point that there is some kind of politics in here. I think the Reserve Bank, I think they are too soft on the president uh, because of what I spoke about in the beginning. That you must remember, I mean, even I don't know, the governor of the Reserve Bank is appointed by the president and so on, and the issues of allegiance. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that he's involved in these findings. I don't know who were the people in the main were tasked to uncover the truth. But I'm just taken aback by the findings, though, that you cannot find the president to have been at fault because he indicated that he's doing business. I mean, that on its own, it violates the constitution because you can't do business if you are a president. It's there in the constitution. So yes, I agree with you that there are two rules. There is a principle for elite and there's another principle for ordinary people. No, I concur with you on that score.
So the other issue then, Dr. Breakfast, is also we have the elections around the corner. The opposition parties are going to have a field day, despite the fact that Cyril Ramaphosa has been cleared of this charge against him. The opposition parties are not going to let it go. Um, Number two, what sort of message is it sending out to ordinary South Africans? And another question that begs to be answered is the transparency and the health situation. How healthy is our judicial system? Has our judiciary been captured as well? These are huge issues of concern.
Mm.
Um, if people that have done wrong are not held accountable, how do you expect ordinary citizens to go about conducting themselves, you know, in I guess in an ethical way? We have such a huge divide in the country. We have the rich, we have a very small middle class who's bearing the tax burden in the country, and then we have a
Mm.
huge working or poor class. Some of these people are unable to put bread on the table, and I think the whole Phala Phala scandal is absolutely scandalous, in poor taste. Imagine if the proceeds of the sale of those buffalo, they're now saying, the report is suggesting that the buffalo was never handed over, which means that the sale hadn't gone through. So where did the money come from? Should the money not be passed on to its rightful owners? Imagine that kind of money creating employment for the poorest of the poor.
I think this does beg the question about the application of rule of law to all and sundry. Because I think the institutions that have been tasked to uncover the truth, I think they've been too soft on the president. I don't believe the findings that have been unveiled. But I mean, I also, appreciate the complexities and so on. But of course, this does send the wrong message, and it does influence. I mean, the ordinary people that, if I can use the words of George Owen, that we've got an animal farm in this country.
Oh,
The
yeah.
survival of the fittest.
Fittest.
That some people they can do as they please, and get away with murder, depending on the class that it comes to.
I mean, let's just look at the saga around, I guess, once again, ANC elite. Let's look at the situation around Jacob Zuma. He's been vindicated as well. He's not going to be serving any jail time. I kind of also understand the man is old now, and what purpose is it possibly going to serve to, put him in prison? Is it because the role players, political parties, the people at the top are fearful of the fact that if they had sent, and I know I do digress here, if they had sent Jacob Zuma to jail, there might have been another uprising of sorts, because his daughter, Duduzela, did in fact hint in one of her posts. She made almost a veiled threat to hands off my father, or else something to that effect. So are the ANC suggesting to the country that they are untouchable? And I'm wondering how this is all going to play out come the 2024 elections. Dr.
I
Breakfast.
agree with you that the rationale behind exempting former President Zuma was to avoid the threat to the country because of that conflict that broke out in 2021, which posed a danger to our democracy. I also think that the country should not be threatened by one family. Those tweets from Zuma's children, I think they leave much to be desired. But I think the question that begs is, what is the point of demanding accountability from Jacob Zuma with regard to the arms deal if he can be exempted like this? What is the meaning of that? Does it mean that even if he is found to have been at fault with regard to the case that is underway at the moment, he will also be exempted? Which begs another question as to what is the point of demanding accountability from him if the law will not be applied to him.
Okay, Dr. Breakfast, we need to go for an ad break. Will you indulge me for a few minutes more after the break? Let's talk about the upcoming elections and your thoughts on the possible outcomes. Please stay with us.
Okay.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
The Turkey-Syria earthquake is among the deadliest earthquakes of the last century. Thousands have lost their lives, and large areas and cities and towns in southern Turkey and northern Syria have turned to rubble, leaving huge numbers of residents with very little or nothing at all. Al-Imdad Foundation's emergency relief team is on the ground providing life-saving aid. The people of Turkey and Syria desperately need your support. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, now we cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
It is exactly 8:25. News and views on Salam Media. We are talking with Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast. He's a political analyst. And we are looking at the story around Ramaphosa being cleared by SARB in the Phala Phala debacle. Before we get to the elections, Dr. Breakfast, someone's called in and wanting to know how was the investigation conducted, and had the president come clean right at the outset when the scandal broke? Had he come clean and apologized to the nation, do you believe that he would have saved face, number one, and number two, that the outcome, he would have strengthened his position going forward regarding the ANC, confidence in the ANC, and the upcoming elections?
I think at a strategic level, if he had come out in public like that and asked for forgiveness, maybe that would have worked against him, because it would have meant that he's at fault. No wonder he stuck to his guns that, these investigations must be allowed until they are completed. But with regard to the upcoming elections, I think there's a connection between voter turnout and the slow pace of service delivery. I think the ANC is on the back foot because it has not done the way it should have in terms of getting the job. I mean, it's an open secret in terms of massive corruption and so on. So that might make a lot of supporters of the ANC to stay away from the polls because the ANC has not been dealt with a blow because it doesn't have supporters. It's just that people have been let down. They are very much discouraged to vote. And unfortunately, I think the damage is done, and what is done cannot be undone. So I think that is the most important thing that will work against the ANC. But the issue of Phala Phala, what it does is to compound the situation.
Last week, we spoke about the 11th anniversary of the Marikana massacres, and I just want to bring that up once again. Um, a couple of the widows of the Marikana massacre. In fact, last year, when I spoke to one of the widows, uh, she indicated that even though she had been given a settlement, she is still waiting for closure because Cyril Ramaphosa promised to meet with the widows and the families of the victims of the massacre. All they wanted all they wanted to hear from him is some sort of an apology, some form of an explanation, and just to possibly say to them whatever it is that they wanted to hear. He promised he'd go there, and he till today hasn't been. Those poor widows and families of the victims have still not received closure. The Marikana massacre debacle is also going to hurt Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC, is it not? Going to the elections 2024.
Yes, it does cast aspersions on the president and also on the ruling party. Interestingly, I think he was protected even by former President Zuma because it was exempted from any wrong doing, and he was made the deputy president of the country after the findings had been unveiled. But the key question is, because I get the sense that the people who were held accountable are those ones in uniform as opposed to the ones out of uniform. But the people who made the decision for those mine workers to be shot at, it's the people out of uniform. Because the president is on record having written an email to former minister of police that he needs to mount pressure in terms of the responsiveness of government, because he, I think, had shares at Gunmen. But he was not disciplined by his party. You know, it's only now that people are trying to play politics in terms of the other section of radical economic transformation. But when they were together, I mean, no action was taken against him in terms of disciplining him. Because he wrote an email and he is on record having admitted that.
Okay, let's wrap up with a few final thoughts on the issue around Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC. Obviously, there's lots of predictions around the outcome of the 2024 elections, and lots of analysts are suggesting that the ANC is not going to be winning, the elections. What's going to happen with Ramaphosa then? What do you see his future looking like post the elections, with possibly, and we're just talking about possibilities here, with possibly a coalition government at the helm of the country? What do you think his role is going to be like? Do you think he's just going to quietly disappear into the background, him and some of his key ministers?
My reading of the situation is that it's not clear which way the wind is blowing in terms of what will be the democratic outcomes of the upcoming elections. Because on the one hand, the ANC has been dealt with a blow covering the period of 2016 until to date. And coalitions, nations have risen to a prominence. On the other hand, you have a plethora of opposition parties, and that has led to the fragmentation of the political landscape. Because these opposition parties, they're not strategic, because what that does is to give an upper hand to the ANC, because if you have a lot of opposition parties, that divides votes. So, yes, the possibility that the ANC might lose power is not far-fetched, but at the same time, the ANC, unfortunately, depending on the side that you're sitting on, can bounce back slightly by maybe 50% on the dot or 51. I don't know. I'm not ruling that possibility out. But at the same time, it is possible that they might lose power. So, but I don't think that he will disappear. It will be a blow to him if the ANC loses power, because it will be the first time. And the question is, if the ANC loses power, will they let go of power? Because we will never know. Some people argue whether we have a democracy or not until those in power lose power. I think that's the test of a democracy.
Interesting times ahead, Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast. I have a strong sense that they will lose power, and that will be on the back of wholesale corruption and non-deliverables. We hope and pray that the people go in their hordes to the polls and make their thoughts and feelings known about this incompetent ANC government. But always a pleasure talking with you. We will catch up again at a
Thank you
later
very much.
stage.
Thank you very much.
You go
Not
well.
a problem. No, thank you very much. Okay, cool. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. It is exactly 8:34. News and views on Salam Media. We're now going to be talking with the chairperson of the Association of China Africa Smallholder Agriculture, and that is Professor Kin. He will be joining us in a minute or two.
Conveniently